What's up, y'all? I hope that y'all can hear me. Hey, Daphne, what's up, girl? How you doing? Can you hear me? I am driving right now, so hey, Miss Allen, I'm driving right now, y'all. So I didn't do a video. Okay, good, good, good. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? I know I went live a little bit earlier today, twice today, but I felt led to just kind of get on here and just talk. Hey, Stephanie, blessings to you. I am just now leaving my sister's Christmas party. And yesterday God was talking about, I'm glad to see that y'all are doing good. Y'all hear my navigation system in the background. I'm just trying to get home. This thing was trying to take me. It was trying to take me through the back roads, but it's dark outside. I ain't going in no woods to get home. They crazy. All type of deer out. But you know, yesterday, I want to say it was yesterday, God, right, Miss Allen. Listen, that's the last thing I need. It is deer season, and they are even out by my home. They are most definitely out. I don't have time. I just feel like even with high beams, God knows, I just no, absolutely not. I'm not trying to kill Bambi, y'all. Y'all know I gotta make y'all laugh. I'm not trying to kill Bambi. Not trying to do it. But the other day God was just talking about, it was yesterday, he was talking about getting to the root. And it's funny how sometimes we'll take what God says. Hey, blessings to you, Natasha. And we'll only look at it from one aspect. Well, yesterday I thought that God was primarily talking about healing, which he was, but today there was a deeper aspect of what God showed me as far as getting to the root. And I realized today that for a lot of us, God is really showing us how to get to the root of like where our gifts and talents come from. Am I making sense? I'm gonna say that again. Like many of us have things, assignments in this season, whether you are a business owner, whether you know that you have something, as far as your assignment gifting wise. Let me turn this heat down, y'all. It's cold in Mississippi. But today I was sitting at, the Christmas party. Wasn't many people there. It was my mom, my sisters, her father, and his wife, and one of my sisters. She like a sister because she's been around since I was a baby. So she's just like a sister, if that makes sense. But we were talking about, playing a Christmas game. And, it was, I don't know how we got on the topic of family, but it's like in that moment, I realized God was showing me like where like the entrepreneur spirit comes bloodline, which I did not know that my mother's father, he worked for him generations ago. Their father owning his own business, he only worked for himself, and how all of his children strayed away from it with one, and then all the grandkids strayed away from it. Being an entrepreneur, having their own business, and I looked at like how God had me pick it back up, and in that moment, I realized that for some of us being chosen, it's not about us being the first to do something, right? For many of us, it's not about being the first in the bloodline to do a particular thing or to break a particular thing off. But I think for many of us, what God is saying is, hey, at one point someone did choose to give me a yes. To them, everybody else went on their own separate ways, and so I'm choosing you to pick it back up again. And I believe that that's where like many of us are. And I believe that in this season, as we approach the end of this year, like I believe that God is going to be showing many of us where the certain talents came from, whether it is cooking, whether it is speaking, whether it is, something with hair and makeup, whatever the case may be, whether it's your organizational skills. I say that to say, pay attention to what God reveals to you about your roots. Am I making sense? Pay attention to it. Now, even in that, like my ears were just in tune when my mother began to talk about it. But it was twofold, because I also got in my mother talking about her father. I also saw how other generational curses stemmed from my mother. I'm gonna say that again. Like, I saw the blessing, right? I saw, like, okay, God, this is really where my gift comes from. It comes from her father, and I believe that it started before him. She didn't really talk about that, but just a word of knowledge. But it also, on the other end, showed me, why some of my struggles have been some, like why I've had certain struggles. Even in her talking about her father, she began to talk about, like, how the dysfunction within their family. So, everyone was going around talking about their upbringing. And, you know, when people talk about their upbringing, it gives you a certain idea as to why they operate a certain way. You raise a child up in the way that he should go, and he will not depart from it. So, today at the Christmas party was a lot about that. My sister, by default, I'll call her that, she was talking about how, her mother, she was married, and how every time her father would come home from work, her mom was a stay-at-home mom. Her mom would get glammed up, and everyone would meet their father outside, and how they would all eat dinner together, right? Well, my mother began to talk, and it's just like, she's like, well, no, we wasn't waiting on my dad. It was X amount of us. It was just greed and selfishness. And it was a certain point where my mother began to talk about how her mother used to put up her father's food from everyone else because they would eat it all. But it was a particular story that caught my eye. Am I freezing, y'all? Am I freezing? Give me a 1, or let me know if I'm freezing. Okay, I'm not freezing. But and then she says, this one particular time, she actually ate off of her father's food, and she knew it was his food. And everybody kind of laughed, and she made this comment. She said, yeah, I was greedy back then. And it's like, in that moment, like, a light bulb went off, and it's like, Lord, this is why I struggled with my weight. It wasn't because of me, but it was because of, this was how my mother was, this was how her mother was. And as a kid, I would, we would laugh when, my mom would talk about her mom, and how we called her granny, and how, if she had food in the house, especially like snacks, she would, like, roam the house at night, back and forth, until all of the snacks were gone. And it's so eye-opening, God revealing different aspects, like, this is why you have certain struggles, but this is also why I've chosen you. And I believe that, honestly, like, if many of us, especially during this holiday time, when we are around our families, or, if you're not around your family, I believe that, honestly, if you just really pay attention, I believe that God will be showing us both. This hour, one, why he chose us to do a particular thing, and he's going to give us signs as to, second, like, on the second aspect of showing us why our struggles are the way that they are, why you have issues in relationships, why you go, and be showing you chose you. But on the other, this is all, am I making sense? And so tonight was, like, very prophetic. And so, I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the differences between my sister and I. And even now, she's just now stepping into a part of, okay, I'm freezing. Hold on, y'all. Am I still freezing? Am I still freezing? Okay, hold on 1 second, y'all. I know I'm driving, but You guys let me know when it is actually good, because I really felt led to just get this out of me, because some of us have unanswered questions. Some of us don't know. What about now? Are we good? Are we good? Okay. I really believe that some of us do have unanswered questions about the type of storms and tests and the things that we've had to endure in our process. But I also believe that some of us have questions about, like, why God chose you, right? And so, I believe that especially during this time of the year, as we're beginning a new year, that God is going to be giving us the why behind things, why we're chosen, but also why our testing, why the enemy has fought us so hard. So, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at things from the differences between my sister and I'm like, okay, she's starting the entrepreneurship, but I could still see, like, whereas I don't operate from a place of dysfunction, I see that because she does, it has began to trickle down to my nephew. And I was just noticing different things, even like the controlling spirit on my mother. And so I was just driving and I was just thinking about that. And, the Lord just wants me to tell some of you guys that He's about to not only give you understanding, but He's about to show you where your gifts and talents originated from. I'm going to say that again. He's about to show us where our gifts and talents originated from. And I mean, honestly, even if you look at, hold on one second, y'all. All right, GPS. I'm glad y'all cannot see me driving, y'all, because I drive, some type of, I almost missed my exit, and I just went all across all them lanes. Do not judge me. Wasn't no cars coming though, but I just went across all them lanes, y'all. But it's crazy how sometimes with the things that God has us doing, whether it is entrepreneurship, whether it's cooking, or we're just stepping into a new assignment. It's funny how we be thinking that being chosen means that we the first ones, right? Think about it. Like, here I am thinking, well, God, I'm the only one that's doing what I do. No, it was there before me. And I think we forget about that aspect. Even David, what he was doing, with sheep herding and being a shepherd, that was something that ran in his bloodline. Can I flow a little bit? That was something that ran in his bloodline. And to a certain degree, we really have to think about who taught David. Who taught David? Who taught David how to get out there in the fields? I'm quite sure that it was his father, right? And so here we go, when the prophet Samuel comes, let me know if I'm freezing. So here we go, when the prophet Samuel comes to anoint the next king. And his father is, bringing out all 7 of David's brothers that are not shepherds. They are not actively, being a shepherd. They have the easy jobs, right? And so the prophet Samuel, nah, this ain't it. Do you have anybody else? Do you have anybody else? Right? Are my lights on? Hold on, y'all. They not on. There we go. I'm sorry, y'all. Right? And so the prophet Samuel, you know, when he sees David, he's like, even now, God is showing me, looking back on it, it's not that David was the first in his bloodline to have that experience. I believe, honestly, that this was something, and I'm going to have to study this, but I believe that this was something, a gift that originated from his father that was put down all those generations until he was the chosen one, right? Am I making sense? I need y'all to talk back to me, or am I freezing? Hold on one second. But he was the chosen one. He was chosen to pick it back up. And honestly, While all of his other brothers had it good, they were, to the prophet Samuel, they were more favored than like David. David's process, the testing, it was his preparation for his elevation. Just think about it. I can imagine, like, if I was David, right? Everybody else got it easy, but I got the tough job. I'm out in the fields fighting lions, tigers, and bears, and they in the house chilling, right? But his testing was the way that it was because it was indeed his preparation. But his gift was something that was generational. It was something that was generational. All right, let me make sure I got these lights. Okay, they are all right. It was something that was, y'all, hold on. Oh, Lord. It was something that was generational. So I say that to say, put that in perspective of like you, where you are right now. Because as my mom was talking, that's all I could think about. Okay, one, God, this is where my gift originated. The entrepreneurship, it originated with my grandfather. The speaking originated with my grandfather, but it also originated on my dad's side of the family, right? This is where this originated. My grandfather was a businessman. He specialized in talking to people. But then on the flip side of it, I'm like, now I understand why I'm chosen, because nobody else wanted to do this before I did it. Before, I was the one that you chose to pick this part, this aspect of our generational blessing back up again. But now I understand like why my testing and trials have been what they are. Right? My sister's older. Everyone else, in the family that has started, to do that, to step. I believe my sister's the only one. She may not be the only one. Don't charge that to my I may be wrong on that, but I think just like from my mom's kids, it's just me and my sister. She's older. She didn't pick it back up until after I did. And even then, there's a level of where she feels she has to compete with me. But I did it first. Right? Think about David's brothers. What were they doing? They were competing. They were competing with him. And it was no comparison because David had been prepared in the fields. They were the ones that were scared when it came to actually slaying Goliath, right? So it's safe to say that like David's testing is what, prepared him to fight the battle that his brothers were too scared to fight. And I think for many of us, that's why we are chosen. Because not only has certain things been put down, right? But I believe that to a certain degree, like everybody else is afraid to slay the Goliath because they haven't been through the proper preparation. And so, a lot of times we get mad. We get, I guess, our panties in a bunch when our process becomes too hard, especially when we know what God promised us. David knew that he was going to be the next king, but guess what? After the prophet anointed his head, he had to go right back out to the fields. He had to go right back to being prepared, which is where many of us have been this year. God, I know what you've promised me for my business. I know what you've promised me, when it revolves around certain things, but I'm still going through it. Right? I'm still going through it. But here's the thing. David's victory was so smooth sailing. When it came time to fight Goliath, everybody had counted him out. But because of what he had to face, the negative aspects of what he had to face generational, he was prepared. But he also had the grace of what flowed through the bloodline on his side as well. Does that make sense? Am I freezing? You guys let me know, am I freezing? Because I'm still driving, but I'm almost at home. Am I freezing? Am I freeze? Okay, I'm good. And so, I just felt led to share that because tonight was like really, really profound. Like, I never knew that my mom's dad, like, he was a business owner. He worked for no one. He was a business owner. But then all of his kids, none of them are business owners. Only my aunt that raised me was a business owner. She stepped into it like in her later years. And then all the grandkids, none of them, y'all hear me, none of them are entrepreneurs. None of them. People are just now beginning to step into that side of it. But I also understood, like, why my journey, like, relationally has been what it is, because there was so much dysfunction in my bloodline. Dysfunctional marriages, and it gave me a deeper understanding as to, like, why my mom and her brothers and sisters, why none of them except for like one are happily married. Just one. And so I say all that to say, I encourage you guys to just really spend some time, seeking God, because I really believe that God is giving us understanding. And the thing about understanding is, like, man, not only does it equip us, but, when God gives you the why behind, like, why you are the way that you are, why your gift is the way that it is, why your testing has been the way that it has been, like, it makes you want to fight. It makes you want to keep going. It's encouraging. It makes you say, it makes you really want that statement. It ran in the bloodline until it ran into me. You want that to be true. And I believe that for many of us, God is giving us the why because he wants us to have that momentum as we enter into the year of 222. As we end this year and enter into a brand new year. So the question is, what has God shown you about your bloodline? What has he shown you? Spend some time with God saying, Lord, why is my journey the way that it is? Show me. Why are my battles the way that they are? Show me. But why are certain, dormant gifts beginning to, like, sprout up? God, why did you choose a particular line of work? Right? Natasha, you said I had entrepreneur ideas in childhood, but they were ignored because my parents was all about college. I would tell you a lot of times, kind of like for me, Natasha, like the spirit of like that gift of being an entrepreneurship, it skips several generations. It skips several generations in my bloodline. And so, sometimes we need to go back further, because a lot of times, because we don't go back far enough in our bloodline, we be thinking that I'm the first in my bloodline to do this. And today was just such a humbling moment, because I had been thinking that way, and God said, no, it started before you. It's just people chose not to pursue it. And what's so crazy, like my granddad's, all of my mom's brothers and sisters, some of them, you can see it. They had entrepreneurship in them, but because they had so much fear, can I flow? They had so much fear they did not pursue. And so what happened, because they had so much fear, they raised their children in fear. And now all of my cousins are doctors. All of them are doctors. But what I really believe happened in my bloodline, at least, what drove the fear, is that my mother was raised during segregation. So it's like, yeah, my dad worked for himself, but we still struggled. Am I making sense? So to them, it traumatized them, his children, to such a degree where they like, we not doing this entrepreneur stuff. When we have kids, we're going to make them be doctors. And that shaped their frame of thought. which was why when I was going that route and everybody else went getting a doctorate degree, becoming a doctor, and I said, I'm about to, be an entrepreneur. Why there was such blowback? Because the enemy had gotten them to surrender the gift. And it wasn't until I got deep in my assignment that God began to show me, this is why I had you living with your aunt. This is why she raised you. I used to sit in my aunt's business, watch her do business, watch her, she flipped houses, she had rental properties, she had a main store, a cell phone. She did so much. But he told me, he said, this is why this is why your childhood was the way that it was. This is why your aunt had to raise you. This was why. It just blew my mind. So it's safe to say that for many of us, it's not that we're the first to do it in our bloodline. It's either someone generations before us did it, but maybe other people directly under that generation became so traumatized that they put it down, they surrendered it. So as we come up and we're choosing God and we want to please him, God is saying, I'm choosing you to pick it back up. I'm choosing you to not only pick it back up, but I'm choosing you to face the Goliath that they were too scared to face. And it's different for everybody. Some of us do have divorce that runs in our bloodline. Some of us do have, generational wealth, that's assigned to our bloodline. Only you know what runs in your bloodline, the positives and the negatives. But I believe that knowing that information and getting that insight, that it gives you the why. It gives you the why. It gives you the why. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay, I can turn this GPS off now. And so I had to just share that because y'all, I was just like so wild. I was like, I never would have known. Had I not come here, I never would have known that like my granddad had his own business. But his kids were still so traumatized that they all just said, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing the entrepreneurship thing, and we're not going to let our kids do it. But it gave such great insight. Even, God revealing, the certain things that like ran in the bloodline too, dysfunctional wise, generational stronghold wise. Gave so much clarity. And I just pray that we all get that type of clarity of knowing the why. Because when you know the why, it makes handling your own journey a lot more easier. It sure does. It makes handling it a lot easier. And so that is the broadcast. I feel led to ask if anyone has any questions. I know that I've been talking and I don't know why. It's been a while since I've asked if you guys have questions. Does anybody have any questions? If we're good on questions, just give me a 1. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Lord. Well, that's it, y'all. That's it. Today my jaw just dropped. And it's like everybody else was listening to my mom talking. It was just like, they weren't really listening to understand. But I knew when she started talking about that, I said, oh, this is God. Because I ain't never heard her talk about this. I never knew that. Never knew it. Never knew it. And so that is it, y'all. That's it. I love y'all, to any of you guys that, if this resonated with you, please, like, go to God about, like, the why. Go to God about it. Spend some time seeking God. And honestly, I really do believe that over this Christmas holiday, that as we're hanging with our families, that God is going to be dropping nuggets, dropping information to help us understand why, we're chosen, why our gifts are our gifts, and also why our battles, the things that we struggle with, are the way that they are. I didn't know about my mom, when she said, "Oh, I was a greedy kid. I ate, and all of this type of stuff." I'm like, this is why I struggle with weight even as a kid, because it started with you. It started with your mother overfeeding y'all. And that was how you raised me, because you were that way. Y'all, mind blown. Mind blown. Mind blown. And so that's the broadcast, y'all. I'm about to get in this house. I'm quite sure that Capone is probably, Bella too, and Sweetie too, are probably trying to figure out where I went, because I was gone for about 2 hours. I did not stay long, but that is it, y'all. I love y'all. I am rooting for you guys. If you guys think of any questions that you do have, if you need prayer or have testimonies, you guys can email those questions or the prayer requests or the testimonies to prayer.thoughtsbyt@gmail.com. And if anybody feels led to just sow seed, you can, whether you're sowing seed into this broadcast or whether you are just giving a seed of honor. And so that is it, y'all. The funds, well, okay, God says not to talk about that. So that is it. I love y'all. I am rooting for you guys. And so until next time, y'all, peace.